Blissful Badger, and my March Madness Army Showcase Showdown. Throughout this month, we're going to look at all of my armies, and I'd like you to rate these armies on 5 criteria on a scale of 1 to 10. And then, at the end of the month, we're going to tally up all of the scores and see which army is the best out of my collection. So what are these criteria? 1. The paint scheme. Is my army cohesive? What level have I painted it to? Do these colors work for this army? 2. Playability. How did I go selecting models for this army? Is this a viable army on the battlefield? 3. My reason for owning it. Do I have a good justification for owning this army? 4. Theming. How much does this army fit their lore? Have I built this army to a standard that makes sense for what the army does in the lore? And 5. Conversions and customization. What conversions did I make to this army? How did I make it my own? So which army are we checking out today? Today, we're going to explore my BattleTech collection. Just like the Marvel Crisis Protocol minis, these are not technically one specific army, but I have quite a few, and I wanted to share them and where they're at right now. So you may see I have an interesting layout today with several models spread out around a central portion. I have a bunch of primed minis over to the side. I have a bunch of rows of minis over here. And I have my Ogre Battle box over here. And a lot of these things are in either 4s or 5s. But not all of them. So we're going to actually start over here. And I have some kit bashes. I had an extra Timberwolf that didn't have legs. And I had 2 Vipers that didn't have arms. So I did some conversions. And so over here we have Boombox and Little Brother. And these 3 will be painted up to match. I have not decided on a color scheme yet, but those 3 are going to be their own little collection. Because why not enjoy some conversions every now and then? And then we have a few single minis that I've painted up. These were just painting schemes that I decided, hey, might as well do. Like Inferno Express on my Firestarter. And some Woodland Tiger Stripe camo on a Timberwolf. And then I have 3 of the old special editions, the multi-part models from back in the day. I have a Lance that is going to be painted up in a hazard stripe pattern. I have
two that have a nice fade on them. I may or may not ever do anything else similar to that, but they were fun and I have them sitting here. And then I have a few lances and potential stars of some Alpha Strike models. These are over a decade old, but they are cool to have in a battle. And then I have the BattleTech box, except for the second Atlas. And I have a couple of these that I still have to paint up. They have woodland camo, and I also tried to clean up the frosting effect that happened when I clear coated these. So I still have 6 to paint up, and I never did figure out how to clean them up properly, so I still have the frosted stuck in the snow look, and the one that had the olive oil, which is definitely the best of the options that clean them up. And then I have another 5 over here. And then we have the Ogre set for combined arms. If I ever need any extra tanks or hovercraft, I have these. They're not painted to any of the other color schemes, but that should work fine. I have a bunch of the Ironwind medals, Savannah Masters, and bikes and quads, and I'm going to base them on pennies so that they can be easier to move around. Because what's less expensive than a penny these days, right? And then, because I couldn't resist, I also picked up a badger. And of course they come 2 to a pack. So, badger. And then I have, for the rest of the combined arms, some infantry, some tanks, and of course you can see that the tanks are magnetized. This is just how I have them stored. But yeah, combined arms are important, and I'm looking forward to getting some games in with them. So it's good to have a few options. And then we have the Clan Coyote from the Proliferation Cycle off on its own. And then we're going to go back to the map, because the Clan Invasion map is pretty much why I set this up this way. I have the 2 mercenary squads, the Judges and the Turtles, because Teenage Mutant Urban Mechs are definitely a requirement in a BattleTech army. Then I have these 3 that I've been considering how I want to run them, whether or not they are part of the Merrick mercenary unit or something else. But we then come to the rest of the Proliferation Cycle with the Mackie on Earth and the 5 main houses and their Introtech mechs. So that was a very fun paint job, and I look forward to adding to that. And if you see in the center, I have a crab and a king crab, but that is going to be Comstar, my first Comstar level 2. So, to go along with the Free Worlds League and Capellans, you can see I don't really have anything, or even for the Fed Sons, for a lance yet, but I do have a Steiner Scout Lance and a Red Hunter's Lance for the Draconis Combine. And then we get to the clan invasion, and I have my Star of Jade Falcons, a Star of Clan Wolf. This is Wolf's Dragoons, but it works for both. I have Clan Ghost Bear with Polar Galaxy, and my Smoke Jaguars from just a few weeks ago. And then we have the first 5 minis I ever painted for Snow Raven, and the next few that will be added to them because they get all of my metal minis. This might change in the future. The Badgers are not going to be part of their force, of course. But, you know, it being my first 5 I ever painted, I felt that was a good option. And then, if you come back here just a little bit further, this, since I have a second Turkana, I'm going to do in Clan Jade Wolf. I know it didn't exist for very long in the lore, but I think it would be fun to mix these 2 color schemes for a star. And then we get the 3 trays of primed and waiting. Several of these actually have a color scheme set aside, but I don't have the full lance or star yet, so they are not set up for that. But these are all of the potentials that I need to use to fill out more of my stars and lances that I want to have on the map. And of course, I couldn't resist when I saw a Blood Asp salvage box. I had to get it. Because just look at that thing. Is that not a really cool mech? I would love to have more of them. This thing just looks so dangerous. But yes, these ones are going to fill out the rest of my map, because I do have a plan to have at least 1 lance of every Inner Sphere main force that existed. I need to do a few more of them, and I think I might even do like the Taurians and perhaps one of the Rasselhog units in the future, once the Ghost Bears are no longer a thing, when they've combined. And maybe do a few of the future forces once I've gotten the 4th Succession War and Clan Invasion time periods completed. Because I haven't decided on any of these to get battalion or galaxy scale yet, but with all of the different paint schemes that I have, I can run pretty much anything I want to at least some level once I get all of this done. And I've had a lot of fun painting these up. I look forward to so many more colors and patterns in the future. And even though you don't need very many models for this game, at one point in the future, I'm pretty sure this whole table will be covered. But they will be covered with painted minis. It's just so fun to see all the different color schemes and to be able to lay them out on a map design like this is really cool as well. Like being able to see the maps that they produce and seeing the Mackey standing in for Earth and Comstar surrounding it. It's just such a fun aspect. So perhaps one day I'll have all of the map filled in. That would be cool. But until then, I gotta get some more games in because it's really fun having these battles.
If you would like to see a full breakdown of my army list, there is a link to a spreadsheet in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.